Namaste students, myself Sunil Kumar from the Department of Computer Science. Today we are moving to the next topic based on the chapter file handling. And remember this is for 12th computer science and today's our topic is reading and writing data into file. You can read the data from the file and also writing the data into file we are going to discuss in this session. So before moving to the today's session, just we recall the previous session. We'll move to the recalling of previous session. In a previous session, we mainly discussed about opening a file, how to open a file. So whenever if you're going to open a file, we have to use open function. By using the open function and file handle, we can open a file. After opening a file, whenever if you're going to open the file, there are two things you have to keep it in mind. One is file handle and second is the file mode. So normally if you're going to open the file handle is required. So what does it mean by file handle? File handle is an object or that will say that will link the memory and your file, Python program. Memory and your file, or we can say Python program, is linked to the file handle. The next one is file modes. File modes means if you are going to open a file, you have to either two parameters. In open function, you have to provide the two parameters. First parameter is file name. Second parameter is the file mode. So file name you should give which file if you want to open. That file name should be given in file name. And next is a file mode. Which mode you are going to open. So we can say for which purpose you are opening a file. That purpose should be mentioned in the file modes. There are mainly three types of file modes are available. One is read mode, write mode, and append mode. So read mode means file is open only for reading purpose. We can perform only the read operations. The next one is file open for write functions, or file is open for writing the data into the file. Last one is append mode. So append mode is possible to read and possible to write also. And remember, if append mode is in, it's possible to add the new data. So these are the different modes and how we can use that mode also I explained in a previous session. After performing all the operations, first you have to open a file, then you have to perform your operations, and finally you should close the file. Last option is you have to close the file. Whenever if you're going to close the file, one thing you should keep it in mind. Whenever if you're going to close the file, always file closing, for example in case of Python, that will close the file automatically. When program is going to close, at that time automatically Python will close the file. But one thing you should keep it in mind, we have to close the file. Remember, it's better to close the file explicitly. We have to close. Reason because some changes if you're going to make. For example, if you're going to change something, for example your name is changed or something you are going to change, that changes won't occur or that not updated in your file if you not close the file, because that update won't be happen inside the file if you are not going to close the file. That is in case of file, closing the file. Remember, these things we discussed in a previous session. Opening a file by using open function along with the file handle. File handle is equal to open file. Then you have to provide first parameter as a file name, second parameter as a mode. First parameter, when you are going to give the file name, the two options are available. Either we can give only the file name or we can give entire list, or we can say entire path can provide. If you're not providing any path, if you're only providing the file name, then file will search for the current directory. In a particular directory which you are working, in direct directory it will search for the particular file. If file is not there, it will give the error. So that will be in case of opening a file. Then after that file handle that is required to link your file and program. The next one is file mode. There are mainly three modes are there: read mode, write mode, append mode. One more is there: R plus, W plus, A plus. So that is extra options are available: read and write, write and read, write and append. So that are the different modes available to open a file. Then after that we should close the file. File closing is necessary because whichever changes you made, that all the changes should be stored inside your file. For that purpose you should close the file. So now we'll move to the today's topic, reading from files. Python provides three functions to read the data from the file. If you want to read the data from the file, mainly Python provides three functions. Normally in case of other programming language, C++ or C hash, Java, that provides only one function or functions are provided to read the data. Same like here in case of Python also, Python provides some function, mainly three functions here that provides to read the data from the file. Before you can read from the file must be opened and linked via file handle or file object. Remember, these things you should keep it in mind always. Whenever if you're going to read the data from the file, whenever you're going to read the data from the file, before reading the data, file must be opened. File must be opened and not only opened and should be linked via file handle. Should be linked via file handle or file object. Through the file object or through the file handle, file should be open or linked. Then only possible to perform the operations. So if you're going to read the data from the file, mainly three operations are available or three functions are available. The first function is read. Next function is read line. Third one is read lines. Remember, read line and read lines. Or last one is read lines. Whenever if you're going to use the functions, always all the functions should be started with the small letter or small letters read, not capital letter. Remember, Python will capital letter and small letter will be different. In case of Python program, capital letter and small letter both also different. So we have to use the small letter here. Read line and read lines. So we'll move to the first function. Here the first function, that is a read. We can see the syntax: file handle dot read. Then inside you have to provide the n. Inside you have to provide the n. So if you use like this, reads at most n bytes. It will read n bytes. If no n specified, that reads entire file. Remember, n is given in square brackets. So whenever in syntax anything is given in square brackets, that will be treated as may or may not be required. That is treated as may or may not. You can provide or you can neglect that one. So remember, if you use a n or a particular size, if you provide, means that will read that number of bits, not in characters. It will read in the form of bits. So not in bits, read in the form of bytes, not bits, bytes. Reads at most n byte. For example, 15 if you given means 15 bytes will be read. If you're going to give the 30 bytes will be read from the particular file. And sometimes without using n, that n also you can give empty. Whenever if you provide without using any n value, then that file will read entire data. Or we can say that will read entire file data. In file, how many data is there? All the data will be read by using the read function. So it returns the read bytes in the form of string. Remember, after reading the data, all the data will be written in the form of strings. Strings and data will be written. You can see one example here, file1. File1 is the file handle object, or we can say file object equals to open sample.txt. So we are opening one file, sample.txt. Whenever if you provide only sample.txt, remember that will search only for the particular current working directory. It will search for current working directory, and we are not provided any mode. So automatically file will open in read mode. Automatically file will be opened in read mode. Then after that you can see read info. Read info is one string. So which data you are going to read, that data will be stored in read info. So read info equal to file1. File1 is object dot read. In bracket I given as 15 here. Whenever if you provide as 15, so that file will read the 15 character. File will read 15 bytes from the file. After that we are going to print the data. Print read info. Print read info means it will print the which data we read, that will be stored in the form of string, that will be printed to the user. So this is about the reading the data from the file. The next function here is read line. Read line function, you can see the syntax here. file handle dot read line, like is read function only. Here also we can use the read line. Read line in bracket is given that n is specified in square brackets, so we can provide n, or not without using the n also possible to read. Reads a line of input. If you use a read line function, that reads a line of input. If n is specified, that reads at most n bytes. Remember, for example, in case of read line, whenever, if you're not providing any value, n value if you're not provided, means that will read the entire line, one line character or one line data it will be read. If you're providing some characters, or if you have specified some data here, some value, means that will read n byte. For example, 30 if you given, means it will read only 30 bytes. If it 20 means it will read only 20 bytes. Returns the read bytes in the form of string. Remember, it will read the data in the form of string ending with inline character, or returns a blank string if no more bytes are left to read in a file. Remember, for example, whenever you are going to read the data, one line of data is read. So it will read the one line of data and will read it in the form of string. For example, in a line nothing is there, no more bytes to read. Whenever, for example, if you specified 30 bytes, there is 30 bytes are not there. 30 bytes are not there to read, means then what happens? Then here it will read, for example, 5 characters or 5 bytes, it will read the 5 bytes, and remaining 15 bytes or 25 bytes will be leave empty. Empty blank spaces will be displayed. So that is in case of read line. Read line, if you provide 30, if you, for example, you provide 30 characters, then 30 bytes are not there, means then only 10 bytes are there in your system, in your file, means 10 bytes will be read and remaining 20 bytes will be empty. That 20 bytes will be read in the form of blank spaces. So that is in case of read line. So here you can see one example, file 1. File 1 is also object here, same. Last example also I use the same thing. Here also I am using the same thing. File 1 equals to open function sample.txt. Whenever if you are going to open a file sample.txt, whenever if you are opening sample.txt, it will search for the particular file in current working directory. It will search for the particular file in current working directory, and no mode is specified. When no mode is specified, means file will search for current file will open in the form of, by default, in reading mode. By default it will open in reading mode. Then read info is given. Read info is equal to file 1. Read info is equal to file 1 dot read line. File 1 dot read line means file 1 is object. So by using that object, you are going to read the line. File 1 dot read line. Then it will display the information, print read info. It will print the information that which data is stored in read string. That also here also going to store the data in the form of string. That string data is going to display here. String data is going to display here. So that is in case of read line. So next we will move to next function, that is read lines. So read lines, you see the syntax here, file handle dot read line, file handles dot read lines. Remember, function name is read lines. Yes is there, then open bracket, close bracket. So here if you use the read lines, read all the lines and returns them in a list. Remember, if you use read or if you use a read line, if you use read or read line, that will read the data and it will return in the form of strings. It will return the data in the form of strings. But if you use read lines, that will return the data in the form of list. List means in case, or we can say arrays. Arrays means in case of other programming language, we are normally saying arrays, but here Python program, that is known in the form of list. So if you use the read lines will return the data in the form of list. Here you can see file 1 is object equals to open function. File 1 equals to open function sample.txt. Sample.txt means it will search for the current working directory. It will search for current working directory. It will search for current working directory. Sample.txt file will be there. If it is not there, it is not going to open. Then here no mode is specified. Here we are not provided any mode. So whenever no mode is specified, means then it is going to search the, automatically it will open in the form of read method, read mode, because by default method is read mode, not mode is specified, means the file will be opened in read mode. And then read info, going for read info means that is here, read info means that is list, and file1 dot read lines, file1 dot read lines, it will read the data and that will be stored in the list read info. Then we are going to print the read info, read info, that is about the read info or read lines function. Next, if you want to read only 30 character or 30 bytes, if you want to read only 30 bytes, so we can use this one. This example shows that reads only 30 characters. My file equals to open, my file is of object here, file object, open sample.txt, so it will search for, no path is specified. Whenever path is not specified means it will search for the current working directory. Then R is specified, so it will, file is opened in read mode. So str is a string equals to my file dot read of 30, means it will read the 30 characters. So above statement, there are two statements are there. That two statement we can reduce in only one statement. That is possible to reduce in only one statement, that you can see here. File, then you have to provide the file open file methods. One is sample.txt file name, second is a method dot read of 30. This is an easy method to read. The first method is normal using syntax, already we discussed. Second method is a new method for us. So by using this method also, directly using the file, we can read the data from the particular file without opening. It means without opening a file, data can be read. So if you use a file, automatically file will be opened and closed. After reading that, file will be closed. So this method also we can use. Now remember, whenever you provide the size as 30 means it will read 30 bytes. If you provide the size as 60 means it will read the 60 bytes. Like that, number of bytes, how much number of bytes you provided, that much byte of data will be read in case of read function. So if you want to read entire data, so whenever if you want to read the entire data, here my file R, remember one more method here, my file equals to open function is given, and R means it is known as raw string means there is no meaning for the upcoming string, upcoming string. So here path is specified in E drive sample.txt. In E drive you search for sample.txt. If file is there, it will open, and file is open for read method or read function if you perform only the read operations, or we can say file is open for reading. Then I am using here str equal to my file dot read, open bracket and closing bracket. So file will be open, file will be open, and it will read the data, entire data will be read, and that will be stored in str. Then we are going to print str will be printed, because that if you use the read, the data will be stored in the form of string. Then my file dot close, this is the method of reading the data. In above code, size is not mentioned. You can see in read function, above you can see that read function, here size is not mentioned. Whenever size is not mentioned means, so read function will read entire file. If you are not specifying size or in the form of bytes, then it will read entire data, and that will be displayed in the form of, that will be displayed in case of read function. Remember, in case of read, if you provide particular size, only that much byte will be read. If you are not providing any size, then entire file is going to read. The next is writing the data into files. Python provides mainly two functions to write the data onto file. Whenever if you are going to enter the data into file, Python mainly provide two functions. Before you can write data onto file, the file must be opened and linked via file handle or file object. Remember, whenever if you are going to perform reading, remember first I'll say about reading. Whenever if you're going to perform the read operation, we should open a file. Then only possible to perform the read operation. Same here. Whenever if you're going to perform the write operation, whenever you are going to perform the write operation, first file should be open. Then only possible to perform the write operations. So here there are mainly two functions are there. One is write and write lines. Write line function is not there. One is write and write line. There are two write and write line functions. Two functions provided to write the data onto file. First here it is a write function. First one here it is write function. You can see here syntax file handle dot write. File handle dot write str1. So means here we are using the file handle. File handle is object. Then write data which is stored in str. So str is the one data. That data we are going to store in a file. That file should be opened in file handle. So write the string str. Here you can see it write the string str to file. It write the string str to file referenced by file handle. In file handle, which file you opened, that file it will store the data. Here you can see one example str1 string 1. For example, I given as str1 Python programming. So it will store one data Python programming in str1. File 1 equals to open. File 1 equal to open. R means raw string. E colon sample.txt means it will open one file from entire path is given. So it will open one file from E. Then file is opened in write mode. Here you can see file is opened in write mode. File 1 is object dot write str1. So str1 contains Python's program that string. That string is write to the sample.txt because file 1 that refers to the sample.txt. File 1 that refers to the sample.txt. So it will write the one data or string to the sample.txt. The next function here is write lines. Next function here it is write lines. Syntax you can see here file handle dot write lines. File handle dot write lines L is given. So if you use write lines, write all the strings in list L as lines to a file reference by the file handle. So here L means a list. In that list, which all data is there. In that list, say remember in first case, write if you use means it use the strings. If you use write lines, that use the list. So in L list, which all data will be there, all the data will be stored in a file. All the data will be stored in a file by using the file handle object. Here file1 dot open. File1 dot open. So file is opened sample.txt from the E folder. In E directory file is opened. Then file is opened here for write mode. You can see here file is opened in write mode. File1 dot write lines. File1 dot write lines L. So L is a list. In that which all data is there, that is going to store in sample.txt because sample.txt is opened using the file1 object. So this is about the writing the data onto file. By here we reach the end of session today. In this session we mainly discussed about reading the data from the file and also writing the data onto files. Whenever if you are going to read the data from the file, first or writing the data, first you should keep it in mind, you should open a file. First you should open a file, then you can perform either reading or writing operations. Whenever if you are going to read the data, there are three functions are available. One is read, read line and read lines. Read is for reading the particular character or reading the n number of bytes or entire file. That is for read function is used. Or read lines. Read line is used to read one line. Read lines that is used to read the entire file. And in case of read lines, it uses list or other cases it uses string. The next we are discussed about the writing the data. Whenever you are going to write the data into file, two functions are available. One is write and write lines. Write function will write the data in the form of strings. Write line function that is used to write the data in the form of list. So this is about the today's topic. Based on this one, I'll give the worksheet, work out that one. We'll meet in next session. Thank you.